graffiti. Busy traffic crossing. So apart from that, they were actually clicking the particular color to represent the particular emotion they were getting from moving to these particular environments. And then you have as well, again, if that the previous one was mostly related with the idea of psychogeography, this is mostly related with the idea of subversion of the tournement. So here you have Jenny Holzer, quite famous artist, visual artist, who works with billboards, actually almost like urban screen billboards. So in a very big, it's actually in Fifth Avenue, in the beginning of it in Times Square, protect me from what I want. It's obvious what she's actually referring to, actually against consumerism, against what is proposed in Times Square. If you've seen images of Times Square, it's full of billboards and neon lights and urban screens showing you from films to products, etc. So she created this as to give us, kind of make us question our everyday life in the city. And here as well, we have similar one with the previous one, but in a smaller kind of context, in a bus stop, in the center of a bus stop, by Robert Montgomery. So they use this idea again of the tournement, and they're trying to give some, with light design, some, again, ideas in a more poetic way of where we live in. So when we are sleeping, aeroplanes carry memories of the horrors we have given our silent consent to into the sky, into the night sky of our cities, and leave them there to gather like clouds and condense into our dreams before morning. Okay, in a more poetic way, questioning again what's going on in a more political way around. This is interesting as well. This goes even into a more radical sort of activism. Space Hijackers is an interesting group. It's London-based. There's a group of artists and architects who definitely directly link with situationism. And they call, in some cases, themselves situationists, or otherwise anarchitects. One thing that I forgot to say is that although situationists for 20 years or until the mid-90s were almost like ignored by most of the urban theories and even artists that were very, very much in existence in anarchist groups, politically talking anarchist groups, because they could see the radicalism behind situationism in particular, and because situationists were somehow closely linked with the May 1968 student riots in Paris, which are quite a fundamental moment in political, let's say, history of the left in Europe. So we oppose the hierarchy that it is put upon us by architects, planners, and owners of space. So here again, they create almost like a projection, a video projection on a bus stop center. This is one of the very famous graffiti by Banksy. So it's a juxtaposition actually, almost like taking, reusing his graffiti here, and say last night a DJ, which is actually the particular, but changing that and put under that Metropolitan Police recruitment drive. So they changed the two, in two layers what was written in a particular, actually it's not a bus stop, it's like a kind of a projected advertisement board. Here you have again, this is more kind of a art-related urban screen type, where you have the city, the urban kind of the surfaces of very known buildings being kind of used as film projections, where he Budinsko, is it Ukrainian or Polish?
Polish, I think.
Polish, yes. Always I'm confused with this and the name. Artist who uses actually different buildings to tell his kind of almost like filmic stories. But going a little bit closer again to situationism, you have the, I forgot the name just a second, the image fulgurator, which is unfortunately, do you know about that?
It's brilliant.
Yes, brilliant. So what they do actually, which is tricky, is almost like a candid camera. You don't know somehow, at the time that you photograph, let's say, there's, okay, this is your camera, or somebody else's camera, but you photograph this particular, let's say, painting, which is Mona Lisa, but somehow at the same time somebody else has photographed the same one. But what you get back when you're trying to upload your image is this image with another thing layered on top of it, which is this. In this case, it may be actually a pigeon. Obviously, it's Mao Zedong in the back, and there's a question, you know, on freedom in this case. And this is Ljubljana. I think it's the president of Ljubljana, and this is, you know, when they entered the Eurozone, there was a big question of where Slovenia goes at the time. So what the person who got this photograph actually got back was this one as well, this one. Yeah, image fulgurator.
So is that projecting images onto other photos?
I think it works.
You have a, the artist has got a camera which has got a light sensor in it.
Yeah.
So if your camera flashes,
yes, I
in the time that it flashes, my camera picks up your flash and throws a laser image. So you can't, and it's a fraction of a second, but in that time, it's enough to project an image onto your.
Yeah, I forgot to say about the flash.
It's absolutely fantastic.
So, I mean, it's quite weird, because the thing is that he's standing, or he's in locations that are known for, you know, very photographed places, or either, you know, like in the museum here, or here in a kind of a public sort of whatever, commemoration or something. So obviously, there are lots of people. You can, is this not the way? Yes. So as you do that, it just flashes somewhere hiding, and you just get that, and you're just like, oops, what's this? Is, and this is obviously is a lot about, okay, playfulness and transgression, almost like in this case. But I'll bring it and a closer thing to something which is closer to the College of Art and the Edinburgh Uni, and it's something that was partly involved in that project, which is not called the Spellbinder. Spellbinder is almost like the platform or the toolkit to do what I'll show you. But the main person who kind of initiated that is Man Wright, who is a research fellow here at the college and at the informatics at the uni. So what he actually did, almost like in the same concept, let's say, with that of the, oh my god, I forgot the name of the image fulgurator, is that you have your own mobile camera, you take a photo of a particular place, and what you get back as a text message or an image message is another photograph of the same place. Obviously, how that will happen is that there are particular locations that have been photographed previously, and there are other images that have been embedded on the original image. So let's say I photograph, you know, okay, I photograph, let's say, this one here. Somebody else before me had photographed that. I send my photograph to the particular mobile architect, which is a number, and it's actually an algorithmic kind of platform with all the different images. I send it there, it codifies it, it gets it into the data, and what it takes me back, or what it sends me back, is another image of this. But in this case, it may be, I don't know, a duck here standing, like a graffiti. So I get the image of the projector with the duck. So I'll show you because it's kind of not. So here you have photographed the telephone booth. Okay. So, for instance, here, all you know these famous facades, do you? Okay. So this is the, I said the Museum of Scotland. John Lewis, and again, is a Museum of Scotland. So obviously, as you all be aware, there are not this graffiti anywhere in these two buildings. But what I did, let's say, I got an image, I photographed this particular facade, and what I got back by phoning this number and sending my image is this one. An artist had kind of embedded this particular, you know, digital form, graffiti, on the actual image of the particular location. So it's actually kind of communicating the ideas of exploring possibilities in the city and seeing the city in, different ways. So here, for instance, I have another project that was carried out by a student under the name Invisible Graffiti. So what she did actually is she wanted to test the idea of dereliction in the city in urban context and the ruination in urban context. So she went around at the periphery of Edinburgh. She took images of different semi-ruined buildings and graffitis here, and she wanted actually to discuss the idea of, as I said, of decay, dereliction within the centre, and how we feel ourselves seeing those particular moments of dereliction in our everyday, environments. Because quite a lot of those, they have, let's say, very negative feelings for people. So here you have some of them. So what she did actually, she kind of asked a couple of students from the college to take images of famous buildings like the Royal Museum of Scotland. And what she did actually, she embedded those images of dereliction on this. So if you photograph that, you were getting this back, okay? So here you have 4 different ones. You have the Edinburgh College of Art, the Royal Museum, St Andrews House, and Scottish Parliament. So see you. So here is the, it's actually the old Parliament. And the new. And obviously you know that it is the entrance here of the College of Art. What she did actually, she was trying to see how people would react afterwards with the images they were getting back, because they didn't have an idea that they would get back this. In fact, I have to say that this one here created the most discussion and the most objection. Because the discussion was with people from the museum, and they were really, really upset about it. It was a really, which was, the interesting thing was not in real form, was just, in a digital form, this particular, graffiti and dereliction. But it was a way actually to experiment with the digital and how we could actually see in different minds our, our everyday environment. So this is actually more or less a conclusion, that augmenting urban space using ubiquitous technology to involve people in new individual or collective activities is to help them feeling that they can master and appropriate their urban surroundings. It's about the production of creative dynamic affordances, of creativity, and have this creative self that can be encouraged through ubiquitous and digital technology, and encouragement of creative participatory dialogue. And particularly the last one is about dialogue, creating a discussion about issues related with the urban. So I think that's it. I don't know if you have questions and stuff, but I'll try to get you through a couple of ideas on these